Sports Desk, Stephen Watson, Steve Novak here inside Fiserv Forum, and talk about a response from the Milwaukee Bucks. It's got to go one game at a time, and this was an impressive one they took in Game 5, Steve.
You know, it really was, and just how they did it was what was so impressive. I think they're hearing the chatter, too. You can't do it without Giannis. You can't do it without Dame. And you just saw this team fight in Game 3 and fight in Game 4, and it didn't turn out very well in those two games in Indiana, but you just knew coming home to Fiserv, it could be different. And the big performances that you got out of these guys tonight, out of Bobby Portis, like you said, after being ejected. Brook Lopez not being able to have the big scoring net that maybe you expected, but because Bobby was. And then you're seeing Chris Middleton going, you go down the entire score sheet, you just see that this was such a focused effort by all the guys. So I think seeing at this point in the season with your back against the wall, what these guys are capable of, even without Giannis and Dame, they have the ability to step up and to have big performances like this. And so I think it just is very telling of what could still be in this series. And so this was an awesome performance, an incredible response. When the season's on the line, this is what you expect. And you could tell these guys poured their hearts out. The fans were awesome, and this was a big-time win.
I'm glad you brought up the fans, because I certainly was fascinated to see what the environment would be like here tonight inside this building. An 8:30, 8:40 tip on a Tuesday night after losing 3 straight, and the fans brought it tonight, and the guys fed off that energy. Maybe one guy who fed off more than most was Pat Beverly. He's standing by with Melanie Ricks.
I mean, Pat Bev, what a response from you and your team. Talk to us about your mentality heading into this Game 5.
No, we couldn't let the fans down. We got some of the best fans in the NBA. We can't let them down.
These fans are loud, they are proud, but you're going on the road now. How do you carry this intensity over to Indiana?
We got to make it back home. Got to get back home. No matter what, got to get back home. Subscribe!
Feeling of a few more subscribers after this performance tonight, partner. 13 points, 12 assists. He was a game high, plus 36 in this one.
Well, it's plus 36 because when you look at that stat line and you see the 13 points, you go, okay, he doesn't always score that much, but it is the 12 assists. Yes, he's an emotional player. He gets the fans going. He gets his teammates going. I think more often than not, he gets himself going. But the 12 assists, he really was, you could just tell, he had a little extra downhill tonight. He was able to get to his spots. He continued to draw defenders when the Indiana Pacers were coming to him and finding shooters. And so he continued to make the extra pass. And I think when you look at the last couple games, when the Indiana Pacers were winning games, it was Tyrese Halliburton, the guy who was facilitating, the guy getting guys involved. He got Siakam involved. He got Miles Turner, and those guys were going. And tonight, it really was Pat Bev. He made sure all the guys around the court with him knew, I'm going to continue to look for you guys. I'll shoot it if I have to, but keep moving. Trust that I will find you. And those guys delivered, like you said, in this environment. The fans, they really were special. It was loud tonight. We had people coming up to us with decimal readers saying, you're not going to believe on that shot how loud it was. And so it certainly had an impact, and hopefully that momentum carries to next game.
Yeah, 6 of Pat Bev's 12 assists came in the third quarter. The Bucks won the third quarter, plus 15. That was a big key coming into this game because the Pacers were plus 24 in games 1 through 4 in that third quarter. Bucks came out on a 9-0 run to start that third, end up winning it 34-19. They held the Pacers under 20 points in 2 separate quarters in this game, Steve.
Yeah, the second and the third. And to your point, that third quarter was huge because when you come out at halftime, look, the first quarter, Indiana's up. You're thinking, boy, they took that first punch. They're doing pretty good. This could get a little scary. And then you saw a great response in that second quarter. And so in the third quarter, you could tell they didn't make some dramatic change or an adjustment to make that happen. It really was just a focused, consistent, extra effort defense where guys were mismatched, but they fought. And they continued to find ways to make things happen. Indiana missed a few more shots because I think Milwaukee wore those guys down. Just like you saw in Game 1 when they seemed a little out of rhythm, they weren't out of rhythm tonight. I think Milwaukee wore them down. I think they understood they were at Fiserv Forum. And the best part about that is now the pressure does shift. Yes, there's still 2 games left, and Indiana thinks we only have to win 1. But there's only 1 game left in Indiana, and I think they realize they don't want to come back to this. Yeah. And so the pressure did just shift all the way back to Indiana. The team that was talking a little trash, that was getting guys ejected, that was making big shots, it was a little bit easier. And now it's a lot of pressure. It's kind of do or die for them, and I think it is a must-win in Indiana for Indiana because they know if they come back here, it's going to be louder than this. The Bucks are probably going to play better than this. And the season will again be on the line. And so it's a beautiful thing in playoff basketball, which is very different than the regular season. There's a ton of pressure. the guys play more minutes. They shoot a lower percentage because the defense is better. Guys are playing bigger minutes, and they're putting their chest out there, and they're trying to find ways to survive, to create their legacies, to make everybody who's cheering for them happy. And I think these are the kind of performances you get. And now we get to see what that looks like in Indiana with a little bit of pressure on the younger team. And so I think it's a really good thing because I'll be honest with you, Steve Watson, this could have been the end of the Bucs season. And that was a little nerve-wracking for a lot of people. And so this building, they deserved that one night. And this team made a lot of people proud.
My guy's fired up. We got 4 segments, man.
All right.
Spread it out. Spread the love, man. You used the word fight. And when I think about what we've seen out of Chris Middleton this series, we've seen fight. We've seen will. Third straight game with 25, 10, and 5 from Chris Middleton. First time he's done that in his postseason career.
What I love most about those 3 games is that sometimes people like to say, I don't know if Chris Middleton is that good. I'm not sure he's worth all that money or if he can get it done, but he's just won a championship. He's just been out there as a wingman with Giannis Antetokounmpo, getting things done, doing things that have never been done here in Milwaukee. And all of a sudden, he's kind of left out there without Giannis, without Dame. And although he has allowed for those guys to be stars, which is an incredible talent and a personality trait in and of itself, but now they need him to score the ball. They need him to be the guy to average 25, 10 and 5. Not average. He's had 42 and he's had 29 and then 25. And so he's having even bigger games than that. And so I think it's a beautiful proving ground for Chris Middleton to be, call it, left out there with the ball to say, hey, this is your team now. What are we going to do? And so he reminded me a lot of Paul Pierce, the way he's out there where he cannot be guarded one-on-one. There was not an Indiana Pacer that could guard Chris Middleton. The Bucs gave him the ball, and they said, we know you are the guy. You're going to have to lead this team. And he didn't let this team down. He was just truly so fun to watch these last 3 games, and obviously at home, finding a way to get this win after a couple clutch, huge shots that didn't get a win the other night. It was great to see.
4 straight games from Chris, 20 points, 10-plus rebounds. He had 0 such games in the regular season. So with Giannis out, he's doing it on the boards as well. The Bucs had 44 rebounds in this game.
Yeah.
Bobby Portis, we talked about it before the game, Bucs Live. It was our X factor. How is he going to respond to being ejected in Game 4? He does it to the tune of a playoff career-high 29 points, Steve.
Yeah, and it was beautiful to see, especially because, like you said, I think Bobby Portis understood he let himself down, he let the franchise down, he let his teammates down, and he wanted to get back out here and prove it. Because obviously the NBA they're so well trained. They're working behind the scenes. They're doing it for year after year from the time they're 16 to 18 to 20, and all of a sudden they're in the NBA and they're doing it every single day from the time they're 20 to they're 30 years old, and they have another level that they can get to when their season's about to end. And so Bobby Portis, I think, with his pride on the line and feeling like last game was definitely not the way he wanted it to end up, he came out and got it done. It was beautiful to see his all-around game really shine.
Yeah, he was plus 30 in this win for the Bucs. Beverly plus 36. Impressive stuff from the Wild Hogs. A lot of Arkansas basketball fans proud to watch them both go to work tonight. We've got much more to come here on Bucs Live. It was a big night back here with you on Bucs Live for a second game here at Fiserv Forum. The Bucs holding the Pacers to a season low in points. 94 in Game 1, 92 here tonight. So defense was impressive, and so was the three-point shooting for a second straight game for Malik Beasley. He had 20 in Game 4. How about 18, all coming in the second half here of Game 5, Steve?
Well, and it really was a spark that was very much needed because you knew Milwaukee was playing well enough to win this game, but it's a long game, and you're going to have some guys step in and stay hot because they're going to have to weather some runs from the Pacers. And you can just tell that Bees was playing with a chip on his shoulder, or it was on his bicep, I can't tell. But the way he was bullying guys, he was playing with physicality, he was taking on the break, trying to dunk on guys, and obviously going back to what he does best, the shimmy, knocking down 4 threes. And so he really was a big-time spark, and I think you just got to give a huge nod to him for staying ready, because as playoff series happen, a lot of times there can be a guy who doesn't play at all in a series, and then all of a sudden the matchups work and he's very much needed, whether it's injuries or it's matchups, whatever it may be. Within this series already, you've seen Beasley kind of be out of the rotation and be needed to win these kind of games. And so it's just a great job by him to stay ready, to stay focused, to not hang his head. You don't have to be happy to be professional. And you can tell he's probably not happy sitting on the bench or going from starting almost all the games this year to not playing in the playoffs. And so all of a sudden he's needed. He comes out here and he delivers. And so good for him, really showing what he could do and proving that he should be out there.
And he wasn't the only role player who they needed tonight. I mean, it's going to need and take everybody to win and come back in this series. And we saw that. Mentioned Beverly. How about the other Pat? Pat Party of 2. Pat Connaughton here tonight off the bench for Milwaukee. Him and Beverly went on a 15-0 run by themselves in the second quarter, helping the Bucks win that second quarter, Steve, plus 13. And that was really the spark that this team had going into halftime and out of halftime into the third quarter.
Well, the 15-point run between these two guys, I think, speaks for itself, like you said, as far as what kind of spark that gave this team. We talk about Beasley scoring in the second half. Well, look at what these two guys did. Who's the guy flopping? Who's the guy finishing? You got Pat Connaughton, not expected to turn that corner and get downhill, but he did. Pat Connaughton not expected to knock down these threes, but he did. And so you look at Pat's stat line at the end of the night, and I think it's actually very telling to have 9 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He's just doing whatever is kind of needed of him. And he's always doing more than his stat line really shows because he's always in the right spot. He's always drawing a defender. A lot of times on the weak side, if there's 3 guys stacked up, you'll see Pat Connaughton is the one in the middle. He cuts, and he brings a defender with him, making one of the guys that are on the weak side still open. And so I think he's just such a high IQ player that he's been hot and cold during the season, but there's no question when it's mattered most tonight with the season on the line, he had a big-time game. And so you're right, Pat, party of 2, playing well.
Yeah, and defensively for those guys, too, that was a big part of that spark.
Yeah.
The Bucks forcing 13 turnovers in this game, leading to 23 points. A big difference maker for a Pacers team that was averaging just 8 turnovers a game coming in to Game 5. Much more to come here on Bucks Live. We're going to hear from head coach Doc Rivers as the Bucks live to